there are definitely some people in the city of Seattle who have become outspoken voices for reason and common sense. One of them, his name is Matthew Humphrey. He owns Steele Barber in Ballard. And he came on the show with us first 2 years ago and really started to speak out, repercussions be damned, about what he was seeing outside his shop, about the rampant drug use, about the crime. There had been break-in after break-in, not just at his business, but at other businesses as well. And so he had started speaking up again 2-3 years ago, just saying we cannot continue to allow this to happen. And now, a week out from the election, he's reiterating that nothing has gotten better. And he's hoping that Seattle voters can wake up and decide that they're not going to put people back in office who are responsible for the downfall, really, of the city in so many ways. This segment is brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. So Matthew Humphrey joined us yesterday on Sundays with Subscribers. Again, it had been 2 years since we had him on. The last time we had him on, he was talking about how horrible things had gotten in Ballard in particular. And so we invited him back in, and the cold, hard truth is things aren't getting better, they're getting worse. So in the last couple years, what was the most recent crime you were the victim of?
Right. So 3 days ago, I got broken into. A gang of 3 lowlifes pulled up right in front of my business and opened the door, cracked it with a big hammer, even though there's security glass on there. And my high-res cameras and my alarm system went off, and had a witness across the street call 911. The cops came an hour later, and they made off with $13,000 in retail in 2 minutes.
Is there anything that you think makes you a victim of this repeatedly? Is this an inside job? What's going on?
Yeah, no, I don't think it's an inside job. I'm watching. We see people sometimes in the middle of the day come in that don't fit the picture. And Ballard's a pretty fun community because there's people from all walks. But you can always tell when we're getting cased. And it's not the same people that come back and do the caper. It's always someone different, but it feels repetitive in the sense that it happens to me about twice a year. So, and every time it's a loss, and anytime I use my insurance to try to cover the damages, they cancel it. So this time I'm faced with the same decision. Do I use my insurance to help me cover? Do I risk getting canceled and pay this increase in expense for insurance for the next 12 months? What do I do?
Yeah. You haven't made that decision this time?
I'm close. I think I'm going to do it. But the big cost really is just the aggravation and the post-traumatic stress. I don't sleep well. I'm a father of 3. They're the ones I should be worried about in the middle of the night, not my business constantly getting broken into.
Yeah, from the last time we spoke, now almost 2 years ago, has the city's response to these issues been any better?
It's hit and miss. The time before this, we got hit earlier this same year. And this was a gang of 3 women that looked like dog walkers on Ballard Ave, and they cased us and broke in and tried to steal a bunch of Aveda products on the wall and a bunch of Barber jackets. And that time the police were there within 6 minutes, and I got there in 5. And every time what I'm faced with is frustration with the police too. They shrug their shoulders. They're like, yeah, Matt, we hate seeing this happen to you, but there's nothing we can do. So now I'm kind of in this position where I'm going to try to start solving my own crimes and try to prevent them. I'm like, my government is failing me. They're not doing their job.
What do you mean they can't help? There's nothing they can do. That's literally what they're there for. What do you think they mean when they say there's nothing we can do?
Resource-wise, to chase down, let's say, for example, in this case, I had $13,000 worth of outerwear stolen. That's a pretty easy trace, right? You can see when they end up on the secondary market, Facebook Marketplace. Like my son, my 16-year-old son, is going to help me track these. You can bleep me, what these guys do. And I think the resources is what the police are referring to when they say they wish they could help more. The presence, there's no cops walking up and down the street. Most of the crimes happen between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. So even some of the neighbors were apologizing because they've seen my boarded up window. They've seen 2 more up the same street recently in the last 3 months. And we're all talking about hiring our own security. Ballard Alliance is a city group of businesses, and they supposedly have a person that goes up and down the street. But, their answer to the problem was hiring a full-time person to be preventative for crime. And I just thought that was asinine. And I sent, emails to the head of Ballard Alliance. He's a great guy, but they just make terrible decisions.
Well, what do you think is asinine about that?
Well, I don't know how you got to stop the crime first. You got to have cops walking the beat. You got to have security first, and then work on a liaison to connect potential criminals with resources.
Oh, that's what you mean by preventative.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like preventative, like have somebody stationed outside the business. I'm like, that sounds like a pretty good idea.
No, it's the typical Seattle answer, which is let's kill them with kindness. Let's find a way to feed them and house them and have them do fentanyl undercover so they don't get rained on. I'm just like, I can't take it one more minute.
I can't take it one more minute either. And I'm not even a business owner in Seattle. I mean, we would love to be a business owner in Seattle. And I've said this before, probably because the state of things in Seattle, the lease spaces are so cheap there. And man, we could have got a big, beautiful studio in Seattle and for super cheap, but it's like, it's not a safe place to be. And so in that sense, like I can only understand a little bit, but the video tells the story that Matthew Humphrey shares there. And this is years of this, right? And he was already dealing with it before he decided to speak out. It had to get so bad for him to start speaking out about it 2-3 years ago. And now he just doesn't care. Like he's like, I will say whatever needs to be said. I don't care if I'm vilified or targeted or called right wing or whatever it is, because this is just the truth. This is the truth of what's happening. Here's the video of what's happening. Here's my experience as a business owner. And I just feel for him, and I'm so proud of him for continuing to speak out, especially in a city where it can be really difficult to do so as a business owner, and you face repercussions for that. And look, I would say in Seattle, and to voters in Seattle, it's really not about Democrat versus Republican. I mean, in some ways it is, but you don't have a lot of Republican candidates in Seattle anyway. And so it's really about, I mean, we've talked about this before, not all Democrats are created equal. And there are Democrats who are out there messaging about public safety and have been consistent on that and about taking a more hard line on substance abuse and homelessness and homeless encampments and supportive of the police. And so you can still vote for someone who, matches your values on a lot of stuff and a lot of social issues that still value just common sense stuff like public safety. We've got to do this. We can't continue or even go backward, God forbid, on the little progress that we have made at Seattle City Hall when it comes to actually at least acknowledging the problems that we're facing. So if you want to watch that full interview with Matthew Humphrey, you can do that by becoming a subscriber, undividedpod.com, undividedpod.com. It's just $5 a month. We'd love to have your support. That segment was brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. Turn your frustration into action at future42.org. Make sure you sign up for their newsletter to be alerted to opportunities to do just that.